Today's topic is an insight into NFRA, NAFRA generally it is referred. Friends, today's presenter is Mr. Akshar Patel, Senior Associate Finance Accounts, Mehta and Mehta. Today's our panelist is CA Yash Gupta. Yash Gupta is a FCA and BCom with 8 years of experience and experience in statutory audit with work exposure over advisory service in Indian Accounting Standard IFRS implementation. He has carried out audit and managed the same for renewable energy IPP in India, in total operational and under construction energy generation capacity. And he is also taking assignments in risk consultancy and has conducted risk review, including internal audit, SOX, IFC, and process designing. He is a partner of BBG and Company LLP, a chartered accountant firm. He has been part of the firm for which the knowledge and experience he has shared with his firm. Welcome, Mr. Yash. Thanks for your time. We'll get insight into your experience. Today's presenter, Mr. Akshar Patel, is a member of ICI and ICSI and law graduate. He has multifaceted experience in finance, account, compliance, and legal field. He has experience in the field of audit, taxation, corporate law, governance, legal principle. He is specialized in due diligence, public issuance, business restructuring, advisory service, and compliance of SEBI, LODR, and corporate laws. He has more than 12 years of extensive experience in compliance, advisory, and financial domain. He is having provided his experience in navigating guidance in navigating regular complexity and optimizing corporate strategies. Welcome, Mr. Akshar. Of course, our Mr. Bala is there as a moderator. I need not introduce him. With this, we'll start our webinar. To just say, I was also wondering what will be the participation. We were before in talking among ourselves, because CS will think NFRA is for chartered accountant and for the big corporate, of course, for other audit, other overall quality audit is observed by NFRA. But your presence shows that you are equally interested, which is really appreciable. Friends, last week we have taken the role and responsibility of CS in signing financial accounts. And today we are taking NFRA, National Finance Reporting Authority. The regulation came out in 2018. Its main intention is to oversee the quality of audit of big enterprise, special company under statute, which also there are certain companies which are governed for that auditor will be investigating of these companies by NFRA. They are listed companies and listed public entity, listed body corporate also, not necessarily Indian company. And also company with turnover and profit, they will cover in detail in presentation. Also a company in banking, insurance and other industry, energy and other special industry, any reference by government. So if you observe, it came with the intention to ensure the quality and to avoid in future any financial fraud or any scandal, which can be ensured and to be prevented to the maximum extent. How CS is concerned, friends, audit of financial statement, CS is involved. and so the PCS. So along with auditor, we both are, that's why called auditor. So we are also equally involved, and how it will affect our panelist and presenter will cover that in their presentation. With this, I'll request Mr. Yash to say a few words on the topic, then Mr. Bala, and we'll start immediately. Presentation by Mr. Akshay Patel. Over to Mr. Yash.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everybody. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to be part of today's topic on NFRA. I'm Yash Gupta, partner at BDG & Co LLP Chartered Accountants. With the evolving regulatory involvements into the quality of audit and assurance, NAFRA has become equivalently very important with respect to maintaining and adhering to the quality standard that has been issued by ICI and acting as a quasi-judicial body to ICI and ensuring that every quality standard as well as the public interest is not being threatened. So today we will be covering in detail the details with respect to the applicabilities, what are the procedures to file, and what will be the impacts on chartered accountant, as well as the growing importance of other professional bodies. Since the with respect to the regulatory involvements growing up, it might be in future involving other professional bodies as well. So let's cover this topic in detail. Yeah. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Bala.
Good morning to all of you. Aditi has put it actually the National Financing Reporting Authority. Some other our CS profession, we think that finance is not our area. It is looked after finance people. It is a chartered accountant, etc. That's the thing. That is the thinking which we have been actually discussing in the past also. But if we really look at the preamble of this regulator, who is the independent regulator, number one, the regulatory body has been established under the same Act of the Companies Act 2013. Under the same Act of 2013, as a company secretaries, they are the compliance officer to ensure the compliances under Companies Act 2013. That is foremost one thing which has been mentioned in our Companies Act itself when we are talking about the functions of the company secretary. And number two, if you closely look into the preamble of this regulator, it very clearly says here, this is the quality and disclosure services relating to the financial associated with the professional associated with the ensuring compliance. When they are using the word, the professional associated with the ensuring the compliance, that speaks about everybody. That means it's not only talk about the chartered accountant, it talks about the chartered accountant, talk about the company secretaries, talk about even the cost accountant as well. So this is the first and foremost thing I would like to emphasize on that. So the regulatory body has got an independent authority to actually investigate any professional misconduct. That is also there in the preamble. So which means in case of all the three professions, any professional misconduct in terms of compliance. Compliance means it is not only finance, it is not only the figures, it is everything including whatever the notes attached to the financial statements, where company secretary is actually come into the picture. So that is where the company secretary's involvement is actually there in case of this individual body, which I would like to say that. Number two, you may be knowing that I have been keeping on writing articles. I have written articles on NFRA as well also. But going through the various orders published by the regulator, currently, by and large, they are actually concentrating mostly on listed companies and also complaints which are actually received from the market regulator, that is SEBI. And in respect of the quality standards, ensuring the things, suo moto, they are taking the action against some of the chartered accountant firms and the chartered account certifying authority. That is what today's cases are going on. I have yet to come across a case decided by NFRA in respect of company secretary or cost accountant. So far, I have not seen it. To the best of my knowledge, whatever I have seen it. But the days are not far away. They can actually get to the details in case of the complaints. Especially under the Companies Act, there is a provision in case of the fraud. which is required to be reported directly to the government by all the professionals. So in which case it is being a national fraud investigating authority. Naturally, all the professionals are there. To that extent, our company secretary's interest is also there equally, apart from the chartered accountants' interest. That is what I would like to emphasize at this point. Our presenter is actually going to touch upon. Basically, he will take us the NFRA provisions, etc., and other thing and all. Ultimately, he'll touch upon other profession as well, which we can actually see when the presentation is actually being made. I think I stop here at this. I'll ask him to take the presentation forward. As usual, whoever is having a query, questions, etc., you can put up at the chat box and we will definitely answer. I would also like to express my thanks to Jambunathan Malik, popularly known as Mallikarjun. He is calling himself as a Malik. He is actually expressed few words of compliments in the beginning. It's a good topic. I appreciate Mallikarjun. Thanks for your compliments. Over to Akshar Patel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mehta's webinar on the NFRA. So here we will take you to the insight of the NFRA, that how this what's the evaluation of this authority, why it came into the picture, what are their major roles and responsibility, and what action they are taking on the professionals like CA, CS. Currently, they have not taken any action on the CS, but how the action is being taken by them on various auditors, audit firm, and the company. So we will just get you through the rules and regulation provided in the NFRA rules 2018. So this is a basic introduction that what is a NFRA. So NFRA stands for National Financial Reporting Authority. It's a, as Mr. Yash said, that it's a quasi-judicial body which regulates the aspect relating to the audit and accounting. Audit include secretary audit, cost audit, both. So that is also covered. It's established under the section 132 of the Companies Act 2013. So all the constitution members composition is given into the section 132 and not into the rules, NFRA rule. It's an independent regulator body for audit and accounting. It ensures the transparency, integrity, and accountability in the financial reporting. So NFRA is India's apex regulatory body for auditing and financial reporting, established under the section 132 of the Companies Act, and it is independent and powerful watchdog. So NFRA is redefining the landscape of corporate accounting by ensuring that financial statements are very much transparent, trustworthy, in the full compliance with the accounting standards, with jurisdiction over the listed companies, large unlisted public companies, and their auditor. They plays a very critical role in safeguarding the investors' interest, enhance the audit quality, and uphold the credibility of India's financial ecosystem. It has authority to recommend the standards, monitor the audit, investigate the misconduct, and penalize the wrongdoing, including debarment of auditor up to 10 years. And they have also taken the action, against various audit firms, which are with very good names. So if you see the legal foundation, so legal foundation is provided in section 132, and the reference is given to the NFRA rule 2018, and it was got notified by the government on 21st of March 2018. So why NFRA is established? So before the NFRA, there was a National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standard who looks after the accounting and auditing accounting standards in India. It was constituted under Section 210 A of the Companies Act 1956, and its primary role was to advise the central government for formulation of accounting standard. So during that time, few scams happened in Satyam, then Punjab National Bank in 2018. So looking at this, the government came up with introducing the NFRA, and they created this regulator to oversee the accounting standard, auditing standards, and the compliances in India by the large entities where the huge public money is involved. So constitution of NAFRA is given under section 132 subsection 3 of the Companies Act, which says that NAFRA should have a one chairperson and up to other 15 members. And out of that 15 members, the few will represent from the various authorities, like one from MCA, one from RBI, one from SEBI, ICI, and ex-chief justice or judge. So these people will form a committee, constitutes a NAFRA committee under section 132. So now let's come to the NAFRA rules 2018, which gives the companies which are covered under the NAFRA. So all listed companies, unlisted companies with net worth of 500 crore or more, turnover of 1000 crore or more, or paid up capital of 500 crore or more. It also covers the company listed on foreign stock exchange, the Indian company. It also covers insurance company, banking company, or companies engaged in the supply or generation of electricity. So, for example, if any private limited companies whose debt is listed on a stock exchange, in that case, that company is also covered under the NAFRA rule, because because its securities are listed. So that will also be covered under the NAFRA. So auditor will be covered. Rule 4 says the functions and duties of the authority, NAFRA. So their duty is to recommend the accounting and auditing standard to the central government, keep monitoring and implementing of those standards across the companies and on the auditors, enforcing the compliance with standard and regulations, oversighting the quality of audit and independence of the audit, and promoting the awareness about the accounting auditing standard and their compliances. So these are the main functions given in the Rule 4.
1 minute. There is a chat box. There's a question is there whether internal audit is actually covered by NAFRA. Yash will actually supplement. In my opinion, the NAFRA covers only the statutory auditor. That means basically the three professions who are actually connected with the compliance of the audit and audit function. Internal audit being a function which is carried out within the organization, their purview is not directly on that internal audit. That is what my view is there. I ask Yash to...
Yeah, agree with your view. So statutory audit as well as attestation assignments are also covered. So if there is any certification or KPI certification or any other kind of certification, that is also covered under the NAFRA purview.
Thank you. Go ahead, Akshay.
So on whatever document the decision making happens, that are covered under the NAFRA. For example, the investment decisions are being made on the statutory audit, and as you shared there, say for example some net worth certificate or something is issued by any professional. So these are the document on which the decision making is happening. So those are covered. However, the internal audit is mainly provides a control mechanism and audits the control. So that is out of the purview of the NAFRA. So those auditors are not covered. But however, the statutory audit, secretarial audit, cost audit, those are covered. So there are total 19 rules given in the NFRA rule 2018, from which the third rule is applicability, fourth is their function and duties. Rule 5 says the annual return. So every auditor covered under Rule 3 must file their annual return with the NFRA. Due date for the same is 30th April. That is in NFRA form, where the company will inform, the large companies will inform NFRA about the appointment of auditor, and auditor will file NFRA 2 form before 30th for the audit they have conducted during the last financial years. Filing
there is a gentleman by name Shambhag. He says actually internal audit wherever mandated under the law becomes the part of the audit and governance, and hence in such cases internal audit and its compliance comes under NFRA oversight. This is my view. That is what he says. I don't think so, because the preamble very categorically says it is the people who are associated with the compliances of the statutory audit only, in which case that is not the case. I would once again ask Yash, because he's being a
Yeah,
chartered
that is
accountant.
absolutely correct. Only statutory audit and specifically attestation assignments are only covered. Internal audit, even if it is mandated by the law, so that will be just an helping hand to the statutory auditor
In
for
fact,
forming an opinion.
yeah, in fact, even internal audit is actually regulated under the company's separate act. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is 248 or something like that. The frequency of it, adequate as the people who are covered, etc., that is separately monitored under the Companies Act itself. So NFRA won't come in that picture, as supplemented by Yash. Yeah.
Yeah. And there is one more question with respect to tax audit. So tax audit is being conducted under Income Tax Act. So that is also not covered. Only specifically Companies Act audit are covered.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Because as we said, this NFRA is actually constituted under the Companies Act only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Akshay.
Yeah, so Rule 5 explains about the filing requires to be done by the auditor and the company in the NFRA Form 1 and 2, and the due dates are given in the Rule 5 of the NFRA Act. So Rule 6 says about the recommendation of the accounting and auditing standard. So NAFRA shall recommend the accounting and auditing standard for the approval by the central government. It will consider suggestions received from the ICAI. NAFRA may request additional input from ICAI if necessary, and they will ensure that standards remain current, robust, and internally aligned. So that is also power given to the NAFRA under Rule 6. Rule 7 says about monitoring and enforcement of accounting standards. So Rule 6 and gives the power to draft and to make the approve the standards. Under Rule 8, they have received the power to monitoring and enforce the accounting standards. So NAFRA may review the financial statement of any companies governed under Rule 3. They may seek the clarification or supporting documentation from the companies and the auditor under Rule 7. Also, they can require the personal appearance of the officer auditor for the explanation for whatever they have observed after getting the financials. And finding of non-compliance may be published by the NAFRA on their website via orders. So Rule 7 speaks about the monitoring and enforcement of accounting standards, whereas Rule 8 says about the monitoring and enforcement of auditing standards. So NAFRA monitors compliance with the auditing standard by auditors of the company, which are covered under Rule 3, that is that we have covered. They may review the audit working papers, audit plan, documentation, internal audit communication and controls. They may evaluate the adequacy of the auditor's quality control system and internal process that they have considered while doing the audits. They can also summons for the personal appearance of the auditor or official for further clarification. They may issue notice seeking the explanation, documentation, or responses for the points that they have noted during from the financials. If non-compliance or misconduct is suspected, NAFRA may refer this matter to an investigation division or initiate the disciplinary action under Rule 11 and Section 132(4) of the Act. So this Rule 7 and 8 speaks about the monitoring of accounting standard and the auditing standard. Rule 9 says the monitoring qualities of audit services and suggesting the improvement. So NAFRA may issue direction to the auditor for improved audit quality. They may require corrective action or plan with the timelines, and they give it to the auditors. Follow up on non-compliance and evaluate the effectiveness. They can collaborate with the quality review board under the CA Act for specific cases where they don't have expertise, or ensure the high professional standard and public interest protection. So under Rule 9, they can direct the auditors or a firm to take some necessary action along with the timelines.
There is a related question is there actually in setting
Yeah.
the accounting standard. What is the flow is that ICAI standard and NFRA gives a view on starting point of a NFRA, or ICAI has to follow it. In fact, Yash is going to present in his later the relationship between ICSI and NFRA, that is anyway going to come out. But one thing is very clear. Basically, the ICICI, if you have seen historically, they have been actually playing a key role in developing and recommending the accounting standards. But after the NFRA has been established, after they are going in the quality of the standard, etc., under the things, even in the preamble, as we talk about it, the Companies Act 2013 itself is actually given the preamble will establish the NFRA, that the NFRA is actually empowered to recommend and prescribe the accounting standard, which in consultation with the ICAI, that is a relationship. So NFRA itself cannot bring the accounting standard, but the NFRA can actually recommend the accounting standards, and ICAI will review it, and that is how it comes into the picture. That is what my understanding is there. Over to Yash Gupta,
Absolutely,
please.
because just NAFRA is just an oversight body. Yeah, all the related accounting and standards needs to be just applied by ICAI only, and they need to just
Review.
whatever the recommendations are there from the NAFRA, they just can consider that in line with the international requirements. And
Yeah,
one more
absolutely.
thing, there is one more question, I guess. Is there any duplicacy of disciplinary action? So basically, NAFRA just steps in only when there is a specific investigation or a quality check that has been initiated by the NAFRA. ICAI can independently do its whatever the complaint that has been received against the members. So that is not in duplication. They have their separate rules. NAFRA has into its separate rules, and ICAI has got its separate rules with respect to a disciplinary action if needs to be taken against any of the professionals.
Yeah, go ahead, Akshay.
There is one more
Question, I guess.
question,
Yeah.
on the remuneration.
1 minute.
We will, for audience purpose, in his audit report, the state auditor has to make statement as to whether remuneration paid to any director is as per provisions of section 197 and whether any excess remuneration has been paid. In case the negative reporting, the state auditor generally reports it as a matter of fact under legal and other regulatory requirements section of the report without modifying his audit opinion. In such case, can NAFRA initiate inquiry against company CS for any possible violation of section 197 schedule 5?
NAFRA is an oversight body to professionals, not to the companies. So basically, whatever action needs to be taken by that will be taken by MCA or ROC. So with respect to any
Absolutely.
of the reporting in the matter with respect to the audit report for the statutory auditor, the action will be taken by NAFRA or either ICAI to auditors, not to the company secretaries directly, in my view.
In fact, this particular question refers to section 197, where you are actually talking of the remuneration, overpayment, etc. and all. That is what it is actually coming. So really speaking, as Yash pointed out, it is actually coming under the purview of the Companies Act 2013, where it is not calling for what you call any sort of the fraud and other things, etc. and other thing. It is a non-compliances of a particular section, in which case MCA will issue directly a show cause notice to the company, and also the people who are associated, basically the chief financial officer, managing director, and the company secretary. They will be actually taken and they will be penalized. It is under the purview of the ROC actually. In fact, there have been cases on section 197 where the excess payment has been actually paid and action has been taken, refund has been ordered, and fine has been levied with the concerned people, etc. NAFRA will not be in a position to play anything on this, as Yash puts it very clearly. It will come under the purview of the MCA and ROC will take action. Yeah.
The participant has asked, please clarify more on NAFRA on attestation services. Is there any monetary limit on the attestation services on which NAFRA can check?
NAFRA doesn't go for any monetary limit with respect to any audits apart from the applicability. So whatever the quality checks they need to do, they can do on any of the attestation services. So if any of the firms is being picked up for any quality checks on investigation or any of the other cases where just ad hoc NAFRA is just checking the quality and other things, so they can just go for any of the attestation services done by the firm.
There are two or three things which actually come when we talk about the NAFRA. As on date, NAFRA has taken this sumoto action, as Yash puts it very clearly. The quality of the audits, which they are supposed to follow the accounting standard, exercise those cases which has been taken by the NAFRA. And second thing is, wherever the SEBI has actually referred the matter in the suspected fraud, etc., and other thing, and all those cases which have been actually investigated by NAFRA. And similarly, there is no monetary limit, etc., and other things are all actually laid down in case of the NAFRA. If the what happens, the fraud has taken place beyond this, or the certification is beyond this. That is not the case. Anything which is concerning with the quality reporting, any non-adherence of the accounting standard, etc., NFRA can take action. Yeah. Yes, action. Dipti, you are talking about the participation. See, now the participation around 228.
237, yeah.
Yeah, 237.
Yeah,
See the interest. See the interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So section rule 10 speaks about the power to conduct the investigation to NFRA. So NFRA can initiate the investigation in case of reference made by the central government or finding from the NFRA's own review, monitoring or inspection, or suo motu action if reason are recorded in writing. The investigation must be referred to appropriate internal division. If suspected fraud or non-compliance involves 1 crore or more, NFRA must report the matter to the central government also. So this is given under Rule 10. Rule 11.
There is somebody is asking a question. When NFRA jurisdiction begins, will any start of the audit report signed prior to NFRA coming into being come under NFRA scrutiny? You see, NFRA can take any period wherever the fraud is there, suspected fraud is there. Because there have been cases, people have actually gone back beyond 12 years and 16 years also. So any fraud, etc., is there is no limit here. This is nothing. NFRA is coming to being only that particular day. They cannot investigate or something. The fraud is actually substituting, detected today. Yes, it can be taken. That is one thing. Second thing is the jurisdiction does not become the start of the audit. It's only after the audit gets over disclosure of the because it is compliances with the statutory audit reporting, etc. That is what it is actually coming. Next thing is that in case of the attestation services, how will CA submit the annual return to NFRA, or in case of the attestation services only, annual return is not required to be submitted. I think annual return question, I think Yash is actually addressing in his PPT later. But in case of the attestation services, how will CA submit? Yash would like to add anything on this?
Basically, only statutory audits which are under the limit as prescribed in Rule 3.2 only are to be reported into annual return in the form NFRA 2 by the auditors. So attestation service won't be reported. But if there is any suo motu inspection by the NFRA, in that case, they can just refer to the attestation services being done by the chartered accountants. So as such, matlab, we are not reporting any things into this attestation services into the NFRA 2 form. But wherever there is a suo motu investigation or any complaints against any investigation by the NFRA, then in that case, matlab, they can just refer to the attestation service.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Akshat.
So Rule 11 speaks about the disciplinary proceedings. So NFRA can start the disciplinary action if the government refers a case of suspected misconduct, or NFRA finds issues during its own review or inspection, and there is evidence of wrongdoing by an auditor. In such cases, NFRA sends a show cause notice to the auditor, and his notice includes what the auditor is accused for doing wrong, what laws and standards may have been violated, the support documents or facts. The auditor is given a chance to reply within a set time and explain their side as well. NFRA conducts the proceeding fairly following the natural justice, given a prior proper hearing and opportunity of being heard to the auditors as well. After reviewing the case, NFRA may take any of the following action. They may close the matter with no action if they find everything is fair, or they may impose a monetary penalty up to 5 lakh for individual or up to 25 lakh for the auditor's firm, or they may ban or debar the auditors from practicing for up to 10 years. NFRA shares the final decision with the central government, ICI, and other regulatory body. They also publish the final orders along with the facts on their website. Rule 12 contains the recovery and enforcement of penalty. If NFRA passes an order to impose a monetary penalty under Rule 11, the auditor must pay the amount within 30 days if the auditors wants to appeal against the order, they must first deposit 10% of the penalty amount with the appellate authority. If the auditor does not pay the penalty and does not appeal within 30 days, NAFRA will inform all companies where the auditor is working. These companies will require to appoint a new auditor immediately. If the auditor is suspended or debarred, NAFRA will notify all concerned companies or regulatory where he is currently working as auditor. Those companies must end the engagement of the auditors immediately. The purpose of this rule is to enforce the NAFRA's decision quickly and ensure that defaulting auditors cannot continue the audit work with any of the company. So this rule is providing the how the NAFRA can enforce the order and how the professional auditors, any auditors or professional can be debarred immediately from the services from other companies as well. So
I
there are
guess there are two questions.
Yeah. In case of the listed company, whether the NFRA can take action against the CFO or board or ID.
I guess this has already been clarified that whatever the quality checks or the standard check the NAFRA is doing, it is an oversight body to the professionals, not to the
Correct.
companies.
Yeah, it is only on the professional people who are associated with the compliance in ensuring the audits. So in this case, this question itself is answered because it is only against the professional, not these people. In case of the companies and CFO and board, etc., it will go to the purview either under the listing regulation SEBI or under the MCA with the ROC. That is what it will actually go. Next thing is, NFRA can declare ICAI standards as illegal and void.
NAFRA can only recommend the changes if there are any and propose the changes if required with respect to the financial reporting framework that has been designed. So it cannot declare any of the standards illegal or void. So only the thing is the recommendation can come from NAFRA, not with respect to any illegality or void issue.
Yeah, absolutely, you are right. NFRA is only a recommending body. It is ultimately the ICAI who actually bring out the standard. It has been actually discussed and it is approved finally by the government of India. It is actually notified. So NFRA cannot take any action on that. It is very clear on this. If NFRA punishes the audit firm, will ICAI can punish firm only on individual? What is the present position after the decisions of Delhi High Court?
With respect to this, currently the position is like that wherever the NAFRA proceedings has occurred. So ICI has just conducted its own inquiry, but has gone with the NAFRA purview only. Whatever NAFRA has suggested, so they had not taken any of the other actions against the individuals. Whatever the actions has been suggested by NAFRA, that has been continued by ICI.
And one more thing is there when you talk about the ICAI, as Yash will also supplement me. Any professional misconduct identified separately apart from NFRA, that will be taken by the ICAI, in my opinion. Yeah.
That is absolutely correct. In that line only ICI will work.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead, Akshar.
Okay. So these are the other rules which are given under the NAFRA rules, which says Rule 13 is for the punishment of non-compliance is given. Then the role of chairperson of the NAFRA committee, what are their activities that will be handled by them. Rule 15 speaks about the advisory committee that we have covered later on, that which committees they can constitute to perform their functions. Rule 16 speaks about the advocacy in educating, creating the awareness about the accounting standard and auditing standards. Rule 17 speaks about the confidentiality and security of information, that how they will keep the document and everything which they have received from the company and auditor during the inspection, how they will secure it. It is given under the Rule 17. Rule 18 speaks about the avoiding the conflict of interest, that NAFRA must avoid any conflict of interest. They cannot receive any gift, fund, sponsorship from anybody except the central government, not from any company also. So that is given under the Rule 18. And in Rule 19 speaks about the international cooperation. So when there will be a investigation of any foreign company which is there in India doing activity, or Indian company in foreign has a branch in another country, in that case NAFRA will extend their cooperation to the international bodies also, and for the investigation of audit process and etc. So NAFRA rule provides 19 rules that we have covered. So key
Akshay, there are few questions I would like to answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Without an amendment to SS 600, can NAFRA circular interpretation of SS 600 be legally binding on the auditor? I mean, NAFRA circular. Yeah, with respect to the NAFRA circular that has came in last October, so that is currently not legal binding on the auditors. So whatever the use of other auditor has been just prescribed. So as far as the last SA 600 that has been revised by the ISI, that has been continued to hold its presence. And whatever the circular has been issued by NAFRA, that is also currently being reviewed by MC and ICI. And they are just taking the recommendations, whatever being prescribed by NAFRA. But currently it is not legal binding. So whatever is mentioned in the SS 600, as issued by the ICI, that is being followed as a practice all over in India. And has ICI punished any firms? So the disciplinary committee of ICI regularly issues in its ICI journal in every month. So whatever action is being taken by any of the audit firms in over the country, so that is being published. So ICI not directly punished. Its disciplinary committee is just taking the actions against the professional. Is there any mandate on regular and periodic meetings of the committee of NAFRA? Not as such. Currently, the whatever being prescribed in the rules has been followed by the NAFRA and under the corporate governance of their own. But as an
Abundant precaution, will you advise practicing CAs to go by NFRA circular on SA 600?
so whatever NAFRA is being suggesting in its last circular, it is just suggesting that whatever the work has been done by the another auditor, you need to place your own reliance upon the same. Right? Matlab, you need to conduct your own audit in kind of the things. So that was also in similar lines with SS 600. There are key differences. NAFRA circular is just extending whatever the procedures is being applied by the holdco auditor or the group auditor. But in somewhat ways, SS 600 was also stating the same things. So wherever you are just placing any reliance on the work of any other expert or any another auditor, so you need to have your own professional judgments basis that you will be forming an audit opinion. So that was also mentioned. But NAFRA is just trying to just extend it procedure on the ICE. CA professional just to ensure that whatever the reporting is being done by the holdcos that are in line with the other subsidies.
You said it actually correctly. In fact, not only the chartered accountant, in place of all the professional, they cannot just say that upon the statutory auditor report. That is why I have not actually gone into the detail or something like that. That sort of the things are not going to work. You can actually take the reference of the other auditors, but however, you are expected to carry out your own check and balances form and your own decision, and in your own judgmental, you are supposed to give an opinion. That is what the NFRA is actually suggesting the circular what is being referred.
Yeah, auditor needs to apply its own subsequent procedures with respect to this. So whatever the substantive testing needs to be done, that has to be done by the group auditor or holdco auditor.
Not only that, NFRA is also checking the audit trailing papers, which are maintained by the auditors in the usual course of the checking, if they are conducting the investigation, checking, etc., and other things and all, in which case you have to make your own homework for that. Yeah. Yes, Akshay.
Yeah. So key powers of the NAFRA, if we have gone through all the rules issued under the rule 2018. So we can say that the key powers of the NFRA is to investigate the misconduct or suo motu or via complaint, call for the documentation for document or examine the witness, impose the penalty on the individual in the audit firm, debarring the professional for the 6 months to 10 years from doing practice and certifying anything. And they can refer the matters to NCLTA for also for the appeal. So these are the key powers that been highlighted. So NAFRA is also they have a power to constitute the internal committees. So as per the Companies Act 2013, Section 132 and NAFRA's internal policy framework, the authority is empowered to create a specialized internal committees to effectively discharge its functions related to accounting, auditing, and enforcement. So three committees is being mentioned in the section is Accounting Standard Committee, Auditing Standard Committee, and Enforcement Committee. Accounting Standard Committee's main activities will be to recommend, review the accounting standards to ensure the relevance and compliance the standards that is being issued by the ICAI. Auditing Standards Committee will look after them. They will monitor the audit quality relevant and evaluate the application of the auditing standards. And Enforcement Committee conduct the disciplinary proceeding and enforce the penalties for the audit or misconduct.
Akshar, I think you answered go back the slide. You yourself has answered this question very clearly. NFRA is actually the recommending body by putting the accounting standard, the first, next one. Yeah, here you are saying Accounting Standard Committee recommend or review. You are very clearly brought out. They are only the recommending authority. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So how to file the complaints to the NAFRA? So the complaint form form 1 is the form they have specified to file the complaint, and the complaint can be filed by the central government, state government, SEBI, RBI, or a companies via board resolution. And once the complaint is filed, NAFRA will assign a reference number. So complaint can be filed by these authorities only. So normal shareholder or creditors will not be able to file the complaint to the NAFRA directly, although they have given the access to the normal individuals on their website, but that is only to address the grievances, and not their complaint will not be considered as a proper complaint, and no action will be initiated by the NAFRA from those complaints. So who can file the complaints? It's a government, regulators, and the companies via board resolution can file the complaints.
So that means the individual cannot file a complaint as such directly to NFRA, but however the individual wants to bring out certain thing and complaint, etc., they can actually approach the government regulators. In case of the MCA, they can approach to the concerned authorities like ROC. In case of the SEBI, they can actually approach the SEBI regulations, and they can actually forward their complaint to them, and in turn they can actually file a complaint with NFRA. Is that correct, Akshar?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Yes, you would like to add something?
No, that is absolutely correct. That is true.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how the investigation process works under the NAFRA is, once the complaint is been lodged by the NAFRA, they have to issue notice to the professionals within 60 days, and they will mention the timeline to the professional to reply the same within 21 to 30 days. So within that time limit, the audit firm or auditor has to reply to the NAFRA. Once they receive the reply, the complainant can also file the rejoinder to the reply received from the auditors. NAFRA will then conduct the inspection and audit, and they will evaluate the evidence and prepare their report. And once the report is being prepared by the investigation team of NAFRA, they will send it to enforcement committee, and then the committee will do the proper analysis and the inspection of those documents, and then they will take the necessary action against the audit firm, or they may dispose of the case without any action. So this is how the investigation process under NAFRA works. Now we'll look after few case studies. So Deloitte and ILFS. So Deloitte audited the ILFS and its group companies for the several years, during which the ILFS accumulated a massive debt and failed to disclose the true financial risk. So key audit failure and cooperation that blindly reliance on the management. So Deloitte accepted the management's explanation without sufficient challenge, especially regarding the asset quality, recoverability, and the internal guarantees. they ignored the red flag. The sign of the financial stress and improper asset classification were visible, but not reported by the Deloitte in their audit report, or they have not commented anything on those debts. So lack of documentation and skepticism. So key assumption and judgment lack the proper audit trail, suggesting the passive audit behavior. So Deloitte did not ask the proper documentation for the debts that they have taken, and possibly cooperation by omission. By not escalating the issue or modifying the not modifying the audit opinion, Deloitte's inaction enabled ILFS to mask its true financial condition. So this went to NAFRA. NAFRA started the investigation, and they have imposed the 25 lakhs rupees penalty on the auditor, and the engagement partner who has signed the audited financials was debarred for the 5 years for doing the further audit. So observation and learning from this case is the passive audit and failure to apply the skepticism aided the corporate concealment. Auditor must challenge the management and independently verify the material assertion and details given by the company. So auditor failed to evaluate all these things, and based on that, they have signed the audit report. So yes, anything like you would like to add?
We can proceed as of now.
Okay. There are a few questions, so if you want to answer, then we can take that questions. Bala sir.
What would be the average time for investigation for each case?
He has put a slide actually on this investigation point out it.
Yeah.
Ashar, can you go back to the time period, what a slide you actually presented? Yeah, here it is. What is the average time? This, I think this slide answers this question actually.
No, but that process, it depends that how, because evaluate, evidence, prepare.
Maybe more than 2 years also, 3 years also.
In fact,
like
cases,
legal
cases like,
yeah.
In fact, the cases I have seen, which is decided in a shorter period of 3 to 4 months. Even there are cases which has been running for 1.5 years also, depending upon the complexity which is actually there. That is the case actually. There are shorter cases, there are longer cases. There is no specific time duration as such which is there, but the guideline which is provided is here actually what Akshar has actually put it.
I think I'll refer, okay, fine. I'll refer earlier question also. Can NAFRA give binding guidelines?
NFRA cannot give a binding guidelines. They can only a recommending authority. And ultimately, yeah, they can only comment, they can only recommend.
Recommendation.
Recommendation.
If the investigator can also be the punishment awarding body, investigator vis-a-vis prosecutor. The one who investigate, and they are telling NAFRA is the investigator and they only punish. That's the law they have given. Is there any change in appellate authority for professionals? Yes.
Is there change in appellate authority in professional means? I didn't get the question actually because
no, they are checking that if CA Institute punish, they can go to NAFRA, NAFRA punish, where they can challenge the order something. So who is the appellate authority for the punishment?
That is the question. NAFRA's the appellate authority you are asking, isn't it?
I think
NCLT. If the order they want to challenge, they have to file it with the NCLT.
Yeah, NCLT is the authority. After the NFRA, it is the NCLT.
Yeah. And
that is the appellate authority.
Yeah.
Can individual file the?
He cannot.
That question has been answered. What would be the average time that we actually answered? Does NFRA jurisdiction over entities whose independent statutory audit is subject to further CA review, monitoring like a public sector undertaking. Thus, NFRA has jurisdiction over entities whose independent statutory audit is subject to further CAG review, monitoring like public sector undertaking.
Mr. Yash?
Hey, 1 minute, I am not very
I
clear.
say, no, for my understanding, if I say there are the rules specifically mentioned.
So if the company is covered under Rule 3, then it will be covered whether the auditor is from KEG or PSU or anything.
Because even SBI, SBI is listed, it is governed under NFRA.
Yeah, because see, the whole idea here when you talk about the audit is done by the statutory auditors in case of all the companies. But in case of the public sector undertaking, it is actually the Comptroller and Auditor General of India appointed by the government. That is the thing. And here, they are also the auditors. They are also coming under the purview of the professional only here. As Yash puts it, under Rule 3, whichever the company is covered, who are the associated with the professional, they all will be actually covered. There is no question of subject to CAG review or monitoring. CAG itself is auditing body actually. In fact, subsequently, it is, many times it is seen, it is actually put up to the parliament for a discussion, etc. That is what it is happening in the practice.
Yeah, and both the authorities have got its own power. So CAG has its own power and NAFRA has its own power with respect to the investigation. So CAG would be reviewing in its own jurisdiction, NAFRA would be reviewing in its own jurisdiction. And both has its own quality checks. That would be different, totally.
What was the penalty imposed on the Deloitte? Somebody is asking, Akshar.
मतलब
That I will,
those orders are already being published on the NAFRA websites. So on the companies as well as from the professional with respect to that, so that you can just refer it on the NAFRA websites.
Yeah.
That is right. You already answered actually this.
Yeah, I will just share the
I
link of all the NAFRA order that has been issued till now. So that will be easy for all of you to just go through that. Let me just share it.
Yeah, in fact, the NFRA site is there. If you actually open the NFRA site, all the orders are actually available. Not only that, one more thing also I want to bring it to your notice. It is not one time the auditor is punished, second time he is not punished. There have been cases again, second time offences also. Initially, there was a debarring for a period of 3 years, and subsequent things were again, second time debarring was accumulated, it was actually running. Even the penalties are running, hefty amount of penalty has been levied by the NFRA actually. IFLS managed to get a lot of contracts also in metro rail projects, partly due to lack of disclosure in their financial statements overlooked by the Deloitte. Okay, somebody is actually putting this. When proceeding under NFRA spending against a statutory auditor, can other quasi-judicial courts stay court proceeding against a statutory auditor till NFRA proceeding are complete?
It depends on which court and all that. That court authority and jurisdiction we have to check.
Did ICAI impose any penalty in this particular case? That means probably they are referring the Deloitte case, I think.
so ICAI also has their power to penalize the auditors. So those details are not being made public. So that's not available. But yes, they can also impose a penalty on the auditors.
Our branch,
Yeah, correct.
our branch auditors is subject to NFRA.
Yes, that is also covered.
So in that case, if any deficiency in the audit is found, will NFRA be able to put up CAG also?
Yes, if the company is covered under Rule 3, then whoever is the auditor, they can ask detail from those auditors.
Now, CAG is a
Government appointed auditor.
authority,
Yeah. It's the authority to appoint the auditors.
and they are overseeing particular organization which has a good exposure of public funds. When NFRA is there, NFRA's approach is towards the disclosure by the, and then more efforts, if correct me Yash and Akshar, that towards the audit practice and the kind of care taken by auditor. Am I correct? And CAG is checking the disclosure and documents and all that also. Both are having the similar role. That's why they are asking that whether CAG does the question. We
In fact,
have gone through that kind of case also, Mr. Bala, right? That where CAG is there and the NFRA is involved and the CAG is questioned. We have to observe that it is going to be interesting. Let's say as on today, there is no case we have found, so we cannot comment. Mr. Yash, you would like to say anything, please?
comment is okay, but at the same time, let us also understand the framework of CAG. What happens is CAG is actually appointed by the government. That means CAG appointed by the government means directly it is actually under the President of India. That is the power which is there, CAG is done. Then the CAG's audit report, etc., and submit government activity. That means it is submitted to the union government. So when the union government, or in case of the state government, it goes to the governor, and the union government is obviously under the name of the president. That is what it is there, and sometimes it is present in the parliament. However, what happens is these reports are periodically examined by the government. What is the setup called the Public Accounts Committee? They have it PAC. You might have come across the term many times. It is being discussed. It is actually coming under the purview of the Public Accounting Committee, which was actually there. Mostly the Public Accounting Committee undertakes the review, etc., in case of the public sector undertaking. So that is what the framework actually today. The action is directly taken by the Public Accounting Committee under the CAG audit, etc. That is the framework which is actually prevalent in the government. And as far as the NFRA is concerned, yeah, it says actually all the professionals are covered, but I have not come across any such case. Actually, even Dipti also says the same thing. So directly, in which case it is difficult to answer this particular question. But the framework is actually differently working in the government, because they have got their own role, their own setup. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Yash, you have commented just your comment on this.
Yeah, because CAG is only supplementing the audit. So whatever audit is being conducted by the professionals, so they are just supplementing whatever the deficiencies in the audit. They are suggesting that they to the management as well as to the auditors by submitting their report to the union government, as being said by Mr. Balakrishnan. And NAFRA is more into that quality aspect of the audit. So whatever the accounting standard as well as the auditing standards are being prescribed, whether they are completely followed or not. So if you are having any firm policy or not, so they are being constantly followed or not. So talking about the audit manual, whether this audit manual has been followed by the audit firms or not. So they are more into that thing. And CAG is more into the financial number as well as the whatever the item that needs to be presented. They are more into that thing.
But
Not
interesting
only,
question.
not only that, there is also a rule formed by the government in respect of the CAGs actually. In fact, CAGs, I think, duties, power, and conditions of the Services Act of 1971, which actually categorically spell out their powers, duties, etc., like our statutory auditor duty, powers, etc., which has been actually spelled out in the Companies Act. So under that, the framework is actually working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Dipti, you are saying something.
No, I said interesting question, but
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
CAG is altogether a different approach of the audit through the parliament charter. CAG is most focused on the public money, government rules, and the national interest. That is what somebody is actually saying. Prakash Goel. Yeah. NFRA is more into the QEC1 and policy making. Yeah. I think that is all the questions we have done with.
So there's
Yes.
another
Yeah.
case with the KPMG and ILFS Financial Services, where the KPMG network audited the ILFS Financial Services Limited, one of the group core financial subsidiary. So key audit lapses and possible complicities, conflict of interest and familiarity threats, too close relationship with IFIN's management, compromising the independence, Despite of exposure of suspicious intercorporate loan, KPMG did not qualify the audit report. So weak audit design, internal control and risk assessment was inadequately tested despite of being critical to financial integrity. This failure to investigate or report the material issue played a very part sustaining ILFS misleading financial reporting. So NAFRA's action, the KPMG resigned from the ILFS, but still that BSR remained under the investigation, and NAFRA flagged a systematic breakdown in the auditing standards. Resignation, key observation is resignation does not equal the exoneration. The auditor must resist management pressure and act in public interest, especially in the systematic institution. So NAFRA is also the case is also pending with the NAFRA for against the KPMG for the ILFS financial services. Next is Diwan Housing Financial Limited. Chaturvedi and Shah LLP was their auditor. So the DHFL was a housing financial NBFC that collapsed due to a massive financial fraud involving the siphoning of fund and evergreening of the loan. Parties involved was the company, auditors, and the time frame for this whatever transaction happened was for the financial 17-18 and 18-19. So now NAFRA observed that the auditor failed to question the loan disbursement to all the shell entities, did not assess the expected credit loss, which is required under the NDS, that they have not assessed properly, ignored the whistleblower complaint and the risk indicator, failed to report the fraudulent nature of the related party transactions. So these are the NAFRA's observation. And NAFRA action is they have penalty on the firm and debarment of the responsible partner for the next 10 years for conducting the audit. So why NAFRA took this action against the audit is the audit failed to detect the misuse of the public fund and diversion to the promoters linked entities. There was no evidence of effective audit planning or documentation, and NAFRA concluded that audit was a shame, and then they have taken the decision and debarred the signing partner for the next 10 years. Further, there is one.
Are powers of the NFRA parallel and simultaneous the powers of the ICAI disciplinary board, which actually carries out similar process against the auditor and also has the similar powers and punish the auditors for misconducts? If yes, then which order overrides the other, especially if there is a conflict between the two? I think Yash has actually answered this question earlier also. If somebody has raised the question between the NFRA and the ICAI. Normally, if the NFRA has actually given the decision against this etc., ICAI generally go by that. There is no two different orders or something like that. That's what I understand. Yes, over to Yash, please.
Yeah, that is the same thing. Matlab, wherever any disciplinary action has been taken by the ICI, NAFRA doesn't just speak into that. Wherever there is any suo moto investigation or any complaint received from any of the authorities, then only NAFRA just peeps in and check the complete status of the audit. So there are two separate things.
Yeah, yes, please. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so there are the two things. So there is no overriding of the order. They have got a separate power and they are just utilizing that separate power into just action.
Whether the statutory auditor is more focused and guided by the framework defined under the Companies Act, Income Tax Act, and ICAI. See, whenever the companies are covered in the different regulation, all the regulations are required to comply with this. So you cannot say, I can only focus this, I can only focus. Wherever the income tax is there, income tax compliance is the must, which is actually coming in respect of the taxation matter, etc., and other thing combined. And similarly, under the Companies Act is there, what is required is to be actually coming under there. So there is no question of which one I have to focus, which one I can leave. There is nothing. Equally, everything is actually a priority. Everything has to be complied with. If the different sector, that is why the functions and job of the company secretary is prescribed. He has got the responsibility to ensure compliances which are applicable under all the acts to a particular company. That one has to remember. You cannot question which is actually focused, which is there. Am I correct, Dipti?
Everything, yeah, whatever is applicable, you have to comply. That is simple.
Even the first standards on auditing suggests it's a overall objective of the audit. So it covers the entirely all the acts and the compliances that needs to be done.
The
And
national,
Mr.
yeah,
Bala, the next
yeah,
is you can read it, but it's basically telling about the role of which we discussed, NAFRA and CAG. So
okay.
overall, they are telling NAFRA is more on the, overseeing the audit quality and the implementation accounting standard recommendation, where CAG is on taking care of public fund is involved. Both are overviewing financial reporting, but the scope of CAG is very wider. Yeah, the question will come when PSU are there, where the public fund is there, both authority are involved, and whether NAFRA will call records from CAG, the person is telling it is highly unlikely and generally outside NAFRA direct purview to call for records from CAG. I say that way only that CAG is where the public funds are there, government is involved, government means public funds, and that CAG is involved, their view is quite bigger that funds are properly used and all that, and as per the government policy and direction. And NAFRA is overseeing body of, you can say, the implementation of accounting standard, audit standard recommendation, any specific recommendation of audit quality and all that recommendation or complaint, and then check the audit quality of any particular audit of organization, work out the implementation. So the role, as rightly mentioned, CAG is bigger, NAFRA is there, but still the question remains whether NAFRA can call and question CAG. Let's, as on today, it's not clarity. We will not argue. Let's wait and see when it comes.
Yeah, one thing is there, Dipti, as you rightly said. Yes, you are right, actually. As I told you earlier also, CAG is actually overseen by the Public Accounting Committee, which is set up by the Government of India itself. When one authority is already looking after, yes, as the gentleman puts it, it is unlikely he will step into others' jurisdiction. That is the case. But as you rightly say, as on today, we have not come across any cases actually relating to the public sector undertaking CAG deserved by NAFRA. We'll have to wait and see. That is there. Because there is a separate framework is actually there. Want to raise a...
Again, that's a big thing. They are telling that how a auditor can be independent. If auditor is independent, then the load of NAFRA will be reduced. They are telling it's a suggestion that the auditor should not be appointed, the fee. The fee should be controlled not by shareholders, but a common fee pool is created based on some criteria to which all companies can contribute. So that if the fee is in the hands of the management, the auditor cannot be independent. That is a suggestion is given. Noted.
CAG is the more routine towards the management audit, and the statutory auditors are focused over the finance audit. That is the opinion, sir. Sir, can I share the PPTs in our mail ID? PPTs generally is not shared actually, but a recorded version of the webinar is disseminated, which contains the PPT. You can actually access the recorded version of the webinar, which is actually available. Can you please repeat rule 17, 18, and 19?
Wait,
Actually, I think
Akshar,
probably, yeah.
quickly, Akshar, can you just?
Yeah, 17, 18, and 19 he is saying.
Rule 17. Yeah. Confidentiality and conflict of interest, and then international cooperation.
By the NAFRA to the international authorities, correct?
Yeah.
Let NFRA recommend the creation of the autonomous body to appointing authority of the statutory auditors fixing the fees. The auditors are actually free from the conflict dilemmas, as they have to audit a decision of the same executive management which has actually appointed them, and decides on the fees. Most of the things will fall into place. These are all the recommendations which are actually coming. Some more other today, the framework which is there under which we will have to live it. In fact, the audit committee has been given the fullest authority to recommend and to fix the fees, etc. Again, which is recommendation, which is again go to the board. Board recommends. It's the shareholders ultimately the approving authority. That is the framework under which we are actually there. Because although the management, etc., is making a suggestion, ultimately it is approved by the shareholders of the company. In fact, people may be wondering whether shareholders can prevail upon the auditors, etc. Yes, there has been cases. In fact, if you all recall it, there's one case of Dhanalakshmi Bank where the auditors have been, issuing the audit reports in favor of the management in spite of various disputes, etc., which has actually been there. In that particular case, in the Dhanalakshmi Bank, the auditors appointment was actually turned down by the shareholders, and they have told we are rejecting the appointment of the auditors. So shareholders also play a role. Nowadays, the shareholder activism is actually taking place. So although you are saying this we'll have to wait and see, because today's framework is this only. We'll have to live with the today's framework. Auditors appointment fees resolution of the voted upon the minority shareholders only. If shareholders are holding majority voting power, appoint the auditor. Yeah, that is what I discussed actually. Okay. The recording is available in Mehta and Mehta website. Yeah, it is there. You can actually get it. Yeah. I think, Dipti, I have come to the end of this question. Akshar, you can actually move forward further. Yeah.
Okay, so the case study further that we are going to discuss is for the Reliance Home Finance Limited, where the Pathak SG and Associate LLP was the auditor. So the background of it's Reliance Home Finance Limited is a part of Anil Ambani's Reliance Capital Group, engaged in providing the home loans and mortgage-based finance. Once this NBFC RHFL came under the financial distress in 2018 and 19, amid broader stress in the group's financial. Reliance Home Finance was accused for diverting the fund, misreporting its financial health, and engaging in circular transaction with the related parties. Audit firm involved was a Pathak HD and Associate. Financial year in question was financial year 18-19, and the auditing partner was CA Vijay Kumar Agarwal, who has signed the financials. NFRA's observation is failure to modify the audit report, that despite clear evidence of negative net worth and several liquid crises, the auditor issued clean, unmodified audit report. This was a violation of standards of Audit 570 on the going concern and SS 700 forming an opinion on the financials. Improper disclosure of the related party transaction. The company had routed the fund through multi-group companies and shell entities, which was not highlighted by the auditors. And deficiency in documentation. The working paper did not contain the evidence of any risk assessment or fraud procedures. So there was not a audit properly conducted by the audit firm, and this was observed by the NFRA. There was no documentation on how the valuation of the loan booked and provisioning were verified. Violation of SA finded, that is audit evidence. Violation of auditors' independence norms. So evidence of long-standing association over familiarity with the client group. So this auditor was common in some other group companies as well. Failure to escalate the red flags or resign when the going concern assumption failed. So auditor failed to red flag the going concern of the company. So what action NFRA took against these auditors? They issued a so-called notice. They debarred the partner for the multiple years. They also imposed a penalty of 25 lakh. The matter is pending with the final adjudication, but the draft order is already published, which condemns the auditor firm's conduct. So auditors clean report, why NFRA took action is auditors clean report was materially misleading to the lender, investor and regulator. The audit failed to discharge its public interest duty, especially the Reliance Housing Finance raised a fund through public debentures. The report contributed to erosion of the investors' confidence and misleading the credit rating agency also. So auditors report had this impact by which Reliance could able to get the more funds because of the wrong audit report and where the public money was eroded. So this is the case number 4 that's given on the NFRA's website as well. So what's the impact of NFRA on chartered accountants firm? So CA firm, while doing the audit of the company which is covered under the rule 3, must maintain the document for the each of the audit, ensure their independence from the management and disclose doubt in the financials statement. So for example, if they don't get any evidence for anything or something while doing the audit, they need to make the disclosure in the audit report for that topic. CA firm needs to do a peer review and keep the SOPs for all the audit and documentation of the audit they contain. If they fail to do so, NAFRA may take the action against them by debarment of their COP for between 6 months to 10 years. They can impose a monetary penalty, or they can make the reference to a NCLT also. So impact on chartered accountants firm. The entire firm or network can be penalized. So if there are multiple layer of the CA firm or multiple partners, the entire CA firm or all partners who are there can also be penalized. Even partners not directly involved can face the action against that. So what the audit firm needs to implement is quality control, internal training, and keep all the file for the audit they have conducted along with the documentation. And what impact the CA firm will impact on the firms, including all the CS firm as well, that once the NAFRA takes the action against any firm, that firm's name get published. They and institutional investor or upcoming investor may would not like to have such auditors on their companies. So that is the indirect impact that CA firm will face due to the NAFRA's action. So we can also discuss the deep on the NAFRA's impact on the company secretaries in coming years. As on today, there is no case or order issued by the NAFRA against any CS firm or any company secretary. So what could be that area against which the NAFRA can look after? So NAFRA may scrutinize the CS activities when the board resolutions are not genuinely passed, the secretary audit are manipulated, compliance certificate issued by company secretary are false, or do not have any backup documents. A CS involved in board process, audit committee, or compliance has a duty to verify the authenticity of the record, refuse to certify if the facts are incorrect. And what actions NAFRA can take is a debarment if possible, if the CS did not prepare but certify the misleading information. So these are the possible action that NAFRA may take in future when some documents of certified by the CSR may also come into the picture. So examples that NAFRA can review is signing the MGT7 or AOC4 with the false data, misleading minutes of the AGM, EGM, helping the company to hide the investor complaints or not responding to investors' grievances, not pointing out non-compliance with the listing regulation. So if any CS issue report in which they don't highlight these non-compliances and misleading informations, maybe in secretarial audit report, so the NAFRA can take the action against the CS as well. So these are the possible area where NAFRA can take the action. They can also take the action against the cost accountant when they prepare the cost audit report, or they do an internal audit report and publish some information, or they perform the valuation, price, or product cost justification report when they issue to the company. That time they can this can also be covered under the NAFRA's purview. Or cost sheet, incorrect pricing of the product, inflated cost justification, wrong inflated cost justification. Also, if the CMS provide for any financial, then in that case, the NAFRA can take the action against them as well. So NAFRA's impact on the cost accountant, how the professional can stay safe. So following the professional code of conduct and ethics, which are issued by the ICSI, ICA, or CMA Institute, maintain the working papers and review the trail, seek the written representation from the management for the audit that they have conducted, or assurance or any certification that they are issuing, keep the backup of those documents and keep the trail also. Refuse the assignment where there is a conflict of interest, and or other assignment where they are not sure about the data integrity and the data what the company is provided. So key violation that leads to an NFRA action is lack of audit documentation, blind reliance on the management, ignoring the whistleblower complaint if any, or certifying the incorrect records that we have already covered. If we summarize that how to be an NFRA ready is maintain the ethical integrity, avoid the shortcuts in documentation, prepare the documentation, stay updated with the auditing standards issued by the ICAI, ICSI and CMA Institute, and question the management wherever it is necessary, and keep the record of the same, that whatever they have asked and what the record they have provided. So also there is a connection between NFRA and the ICAI, like both of them seems to have a same power and action. So we'll present one slide which shows the comparison between these two authorities. So just for a minute. Yeah. So NFRA and ICAI. So legal foundation. The NFRA is a statutory body created under the Companies Act, where the ICAI is a statutory body created under the separate act by the Parliament. Both are statutory with distinct mandates in the finance regulatory framework. Primary function of NFRA is independent audit regulator, ensuring the compliance, quality, transparency in auditing. And the primary function of the ICAI is licensing, educating, examining standards, setting the body for the chartered accountant. ICAI prepares the CAs, NFRA oversees their performance. The scope is NFRA covers a public interest entities mostly, that is listed company or large corporate or a company where the public money is involved, like a large big number of loan amount, like 500 crore loan, 1000 crore loan, those entities. Whereas the ICAI covers non-PIE as well, like private company, small company. So scope divide the risk and public impact. NFRA handle high stakes, ICAI handle the broader base. Even it covers the small enterprise also. So for example, if in some small company, some misrepresentation audit report is giving some false information, in that case, ICAI can also take the action. Unlike NFRA, who will take action only if it is covered under the Rule 3. So regulatory role is enforcement authority, can investigate, impose penalty. It's a ICAI is a self-regulation recommending disciplinary action via internal committee. Audit oversight mechanism. So conduct the direct inspection and quality review of independently of ICAI. Whereas the ICAI conduct the peer review and quality checks through their own committees. NFRA supplements ICAI by auditing the auditors of a large company. Standard setting. As we have already discussed that NFRA can recommend the change to the audit regulation and framework based on their finding. However, the ICAI formulates, revise the standards, auditing standard and standards of audit. So ICAI sets the standards. NFRA test the real world compliance with the high risk and audit. Independence. So NFRA reports directly to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, independent of the professional bodies. This function of the member runs professional institute. NFRA ensures the external oversight. ICAI maintains the professional self-regulation among the members of the ICAI. So public trust and public trust functions. NFRA enhance the investor and stakeholders' confidence through enforcement of the transparency, and ICAI enhance the professional integrity and competence among the chartered accountant. Both aim to uphold the public trust from the different angles, one by regulation and one by the qualification. So if we see the basic function of both the authority are related to each other, so they have the same power. However, NAFRA has more power when it comes to a public interest entity and where the public money is involved. So these are the basic common things between these two institutes. So, Bala sir, we can take some question and then.
Yeah.
Only one question, Mr. Bala, is there. Is there
Yeah.
any per day penalty if NAFRA Form 2 is not filed on time?
I guess it is not specifically mentioned for the penalty in the rules. And as far as Section 450 is concerned for the Companies Act, I guess that is also not covering this thing. But what NAFRA is doing, it is mentioning the list of entities who has not formed the NAFRA 2 forms.
Yeah, and register valuers can take action.
Probably in future, NAFRA can
Yeah.
just peep into the other professional bodies whenever it seems to. So in that case, registered valuer can also be covered just because of their valuations. Matlab, investors are taking decisions.
NFRA's existence came only when all those Mundli Baro CA
Mr.
like
Bala,
Uttam.
I think lot of things they have written. I think that's why I said these are not questions. They have commented on various people and firm and all that. So
Okay.
it's not right forum. We talked that all.
Okay.
And in the last comment, Mr. Ananda says that audit, it will help the profession if NAFRA undertakes some kind of stress test on audit firm to check their competence and all that. Many suggestions are there. Rating of CA firm and all that are suggested. Otherwise, I think all questions are answered.
In fact, if somebody is actually interested, they can go to the NFRA side
Yeah.
to know what is the NFRA is exactly doing it. There are actually one particular order has been passed against the CA Pankaj Kumar. In fact, there are two orders have been actually passed against him. One is actually on 8th of January 24. That is the latest order. And before that, there is another order passed 31st April 23. Because it is actually the repeated misconduct has been committed by this auditing firm where Pankaj Kumar, they are issuing a lot of things. They are very speaking order running almost about 12 to 13 pages, which discuss the various aspects as Yash Gupta puts it very clearly. What are the auditing standard? What are the things he's supposed to do? What he has not done? What is the thing, etc. Another thing and all. After giving the opportunity, one can actually read. They can understand what is the nitty gritty is actually involved in NAFRA's doing their job. Yeah, that is what I want to say.
And
That
there is a comment that NAFRA can't take action against CA, ICAI versus Mukesh Goyal and others, Supreme Court 2019. That is the comment by Rajeshri. Any comment, Mr. Yash or Akshay?
Probably we need to just go through this case for once before we just have any of the comments on this.
Okay. Okay, I think there is no more questions, and in that case, we can close this session.
anybody was raising the hands or something, we can check up. If that is the case, we can ask them. Let me check it out. Any hand is risen?
No hands. I think we
I
can.
don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has risen the hand.
No, it's showing.
Yeah, there are two hands which are actually risen. One is actually Aninda Ghosh. Another thing is actually Rajeshri. Yeah, are you there, both of you? If you both of you are, you can unmute. You can speak, please. Rajeshri, Aninda.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. My basic question is that.
Akshar, you can close down the presentation.
Yeah. So, in the undergoing scenario, how far do you think the NFRA has been able to institute the discipline till now? Because do you think, because the rampant violations for which ICAI was taking a blind eye forward, for which the vice president they called us that Suptesu and not Jagriti. So do you think there has been a qualitative change after the NFRA came into place. So ultimately, we have been derogated. The ICA has been derogated. And so NFRA is the boss, not the ICA union. But has there been a substantial change? So because if we say, like, by just to highlight one example, like BPSL, very recent. JSW BPSL turnover takeover. Now, one can say it is a sub judice, Supreme Court, everything, but the irregularity which was going on for a long time, and the every time UI has reported, there have been so many cases UI has failed to report, but there has been substantial deficiency in control which UI did not take into account or did not report. Like you said, ILFS case. Now, these are bigger things, but like everybody is not an Adani case, Adani Enterprise or Adani Port case. But there are very renowned big houses also where things do not come to light. Even today, this EY thing, why should Supreme Court come into picture when there are audits? And now come to the even the valuation part. You see the mostly the IPO valuations have thought about, but the partly better the valuation, but there has been no regulation by SEBI to have the proper audit, I think. So the valuation, rampant valuation things are going on. So for even for listed companies. So how per do you think NFRA has been able to bring in the change and anything, or it should be in due course, that will happen in due course, or the more discipline come will in due course? That was my being a seasoned professional. This was my submission and plea to ask to you.
Thank you. Mr. Yash?
I would like to answer this. Auditor is mere a watchdog.
No, I don't think so.
No,
In
matlab,
today's scenario, it has to be better.
with
Even
respect
watchdog.
to
If
a
you see,
particular case that you're talking about.
Josh, do you think in BPSL case did UI play the role of a watchdog?
Not completely, but somewhere
That's it.
we cannot just
That's it.
point
There is
out
gap.
in a particular
Suppose there
case.
are.
So there might be cases.
Mr. Rajeshri, let him speak. Mr. Rajeshri, Mr. Rajeshri.
Axis Bank, there are
Yes, ma'am.
regular bank audits and RBI audits go on, but assistant manager or the very low grade employees of the bank of some corporates go on paying personal credit cards or things. These
I think, please let the panelists speak. You are only speaking.
Yeah.
Are you questioning or you are giving? Please.
I'm saying
Give him chance.
anything is happening. Like these are audit failures. So
Yeah.
anything is happening.
Please, Mr. Yash.
We can say this kind of whatever the cases that are happening are audit failures, but not completely. As an economy as a whole, there might be chances, there might be few of the cases that might be happening due to just negligence of the auditor or somewhat there. But 100%ly, we cannot expect the auditor only to just report this kind of cases, because sometimes the whole of the information is also not again available with the kind of resources available with the chartered accountants or any of the professional bodies. So whatever the information is being provided to the auditors, they are dealing with that only. So merely with respect to that, we cannot just say, okay, auditor is completely responsible for this. There
There are
has to be
areas which they
complete
can
system
honor.
for this.
They can say, they can challenge, they can, SOP is there. If SOP is not there, they can say, they can see. They will not see proper BRS. They will not see how things are done. They may be, some
So
places, they may be
this
a
kind
part
of
of
issues are audit failures. Agreed. If they are not going to bank reconciliation, they are not checking of the balance confirmation from the bank or the lander confirmation or the legal confirmation. This kind of things we can say these are the audit failures.
I'm just saying,
But
like
kind of
credit
a
card of
fraud
an
that had
employee
happened.
being paid for 2-3 years, not the director say thing.
I
They
think we
should
have
also
to-
recommend changes to RBI.
Yes,
That is
ma'am.
Yeah, we have to.
In that case, we can also suggest that there are also other authorities which are reviewing the financial statement. They could have also find out the same thing. So even if they cannot find out the same thing, how we can expect only auditors?
Yes, are doing. Now, auditors are doing. They are the watchdogs. You said they are not doing the job of watchdogs. Most are not doing the job of watchdogs.
I think
Some are doing.
we can move to another person, Mr. Yash.
Anindya, let me tell you one more thing. Sorry, Rajeshri, let me tell you one more thing. Whenever you are saying auditors are not done the job, auditors will actually do the job based on what is actually presented to them. The financial statements are prepared by the management, it is handed over to them. With a reference to the things which are presented, he is raising the various questions. If the things are totally hidden from him, how can we do the investigating agency like a CIB or ED? You can't expect that sort of a thing. That is what Yash is trying to answer actually. Yes, routinely what he is supposed to do as per the standard operating procedure, what he is supposed to do as per the accounting standard, if he has not followed, yes,
Yeah,
it is
that's
his
what I'm
failure.
saying.
If
But the
something is
minimal
not,
query, if you could
yeah,
unearth, but he did not, then there is a failure. No?
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
if he has not done, that is a failure. If something is not at all disclosed, it is purposely hidden, he cannot do anything. That is the where it is happening. These are all one of the cases which are actually happening, by and large, which is not the case. That is what you have to see. Yeah, we move on to the next. Yeah,
Aninda.
Aninda.
Yeah.
Ma'am, on in
Thank
that
you, Mr. Rajesh.
speak.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my point is that NFRA is. I totally agreed with Mr. Jash of your panel that NFRA is nothing but only a mere watchdog. They cannot take any decision or cannot call for any record from any constitutional authority. So this type of authority is created by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and their reporting authority is also the ministry. So how can we expect impartiality from them?
Let me clarify. NAFRA has not been given powers by Ministry of Corporate Affairs. They are giving powers to the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is
Yes, sir.
a clarity. And they can challenge the professionals. Matlab, they are asking whatever the document they need to just check. They are asking the professional to present whatever the document they need to do. So if there are any lacks in that, so they will be challenging that only. They might not be asking any of the authorities, banks or lenders to just to present the things to them. So whatever how they were supposed to do the audit, so they are checking that part. They're not investigating completely. They can investigate only in cases of fraudulent or any of the complaint received from any of the authorities. In that cases, they can give beyond the powers that has been given. In that case, they can ask any of the department to just present the whatever the complaint they have received, whatever on the what basis they have taken the decision. On that basis, they can just go beyond this.
Yeah, Aninda, please.
You think all the questions are answered? The people who raised the hands have spoken, and now we can close this webinar. Right? No one is there.
Yeah, I cannot see any hand risen actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Mr. Yash, for your inputs. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Akshar, for your wonderful presentation. Thanks, all the participants, for your active contribution. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
I
Thank
must
you.
say actually,
Thank you.
Dipti, before we close, I must say, Dipti, initially you started with how far company secretaries would be interested. You saw whatever the participation today, which is actually happened. It was around 237. Even at the closing hours, we are having about 165. That show the interest. That is one thing. And another thing is, this is actually, I doubt anybody has taken this sort of the topic. This is one of the, specific topic which Mehta has actually taken and enlightening. As you rightly said, last time we talked about the signing of the financial. Today, Akshar is very validly brought out the various precaution on us to take in terms of professional in purposing the thing. That's a very good things. Thanks a lot, especially to Yash for sharing your thoughts and sparing your time. Thanks a lot to Akshar for your excellent presentation. I think, Dipti, we can allow one more question. I think MP Srinivas is risen the hand. We will ask him what do you want to say. Srinivas?
I think by mistake, yes.
Sir, these financial statements are filed with the Register of Companies and SEBI and all other authorities are also there.
Yes.
ROC, RD, SFIO, what these people are seeing, whether they are studying these statements or all not, if they have studied, so many scams would have came into light. Why blame only auditors? It is my response to Aninda Ghosh, Mr. Aninda Ghosh.
Okay. Point noted. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, friends, then let's take goodbye. See you next week. Thank you, Yash. Thank you, Akshay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Good weekend. We yet meet in the next session.